Hello everyone, this is Cathy Foster from TechKnowKids, here for the Harrison Township Public Library to do some fun spring and Easter related STEM activities. So let's get started. So STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And it is a really important subject, and it's also very fun. You can learn a lot, and hopefully you'll love it at this early age, and then maybe you'll continue it for your career. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to start out by reading a story. And it's kind of like an engineering story. So while I'm reading the story, I want you to think about how you can be an engineer and create a trap for the Easter Bunny. The name of this story is called How to Catch the Easter Bunny. And it is by Adam Wallace and Andy Elkerson. And I've been working long and hard with all my peeps and crew. We've made the eggs and now I'm here to bring them all to you. Now, you know about peeps at Easter time, right? Those little marshmallow treats. So that was kind of a little play on words. My real name's a secret. My friends call me EB. My special job means I must hide my true identity. Yes, I'm the Easter Bunny, and I'm coming to your home. If you have Easter spirit, then you just might see me roam. The first trap is quite simple, just carrots on a plate. I'm lightning fast to catch me. You'll need some better bait. So look at, this is the first trap here. So you see it's pretty simple. They just have some carrots and a box and a stick. And so the idea would be that the bunny would be attracted to the carrots, and then the stick would release the box and it would be caught. But it didn't catch the Easter Bunny. A hole that's covered by a rug will never cause me strife. Have you forgotten what I am? Burrowing's my life. And burrowing means digging underground. And that's what rabbits do. So they tried to hide a rug and then fall into the hole, but that did not work. Now this is much more like it, a fully lit dance floor. I'll do a little hip hop, then dash behind the door. So if you look here, the trap is a little hole underneath with the carrots and on a disco floor. Pretty clever. Didn't catch that Easter Bunny though. This next trap is quite clever, but made by brilliant engineers. But it's hard to catch a bunny who has supersonic ears. So they tried to use a fake bunny to see if they can guide him in. You want to catch me for my eggs and magic basket too? But I've been hiding Easter treats since 1682. So there they had a pirate ship and probably looking for the treasure, right? No luck. This trap nearly gets me, but check out all my hops. Watch me dodge the flying fish and cherry yogurt pops. So here they try to use the Swedish fish as a trap. I switch my size from 2 feet tall to something small and gray. Your Easter spirit is so strong, you'll see me right away. I leave so many Easter treats, no child will be sad. But when they see that I've escaped, they'll all be hopping mad. So they tried to lure him in with some chocolates, and that did not work either. The Bunny Tumbler 2.0 sure takes me for a spin, but I've got lucky rabbit's feet. I know I'll always win. With all the treats delivered to children big and small, I've got one special stop to make to my favorite kid of all. Who do you think that could be? See you next year. So That was a very cute story, and it had some really fun ideas for engineering some traps for the Easter Bunny, so that you could maybe catch a view. So what I challenge you to do is to make your own trap. It's a great engineering process. All you have to do is take some things that you have maybe in the recycling bin, or maybe an old shoebox that you have around the house, and do some engineering. Now, when engineers they go through a process. Okay, they kind of think about how could they solve the problem. The problem is how to trap the Easter Bunny. Then they kind of imagine it in their heads and come up with some ideas, and then they make a plan. And a plan is maybe drawing out the design beforehand, and then they create it, try it out. If it you might, and then the final step is you think maybe I'm done. No, let's see how I can improve it. And so I would these are just some materials that I would suggest, but you could use whatever you have around the house. I got a shoebox, and I found some old pool noodles that I just cut. You could use some paper towel rolls or wrapping paper rolls if you want to. That would make a good trap. I found some of these pipe cleaners. Just go through the recycling bin. Maybe you want to use an old juice bottle or something like that. Use your creativity. You'd be surprised of what you come up with. I've done some of these classes with live students, and it's amazing what they can come up with. And that is a great thing for you to be a future engineer. If you have something that, if you like to build things, use old scraps, use some things that you have around the house. That's a great idea. Another challenge that is kind of related to engineering also would be to try to take maybe 6 of these pipe cleaners and try to assemble a basket just using pipe cleaners. And I just started one. What I did was I just kind of thought it through. And the challenge would be to try to hold as many of these plastic Easter eggs as you can in the basket. And if you have a brother or sister, or you have friends that maybe are coming to your house, playing outside, maybe each of you can make a basket. The contest could be how many eggs can you hold in the basket. Now, this is just the beginning one. I didn't finish it, but you can you can add more of these things, and you just twist them around. And again, maybe you want to make a sketch to see what would be the best design. Okay. And now remember, you have to think about, well, how can I hold them from the bottom? How will they not fall out of the bottom? That's the trickiest part, and the side. So you kind of have to think about how wide and how you're going to weave these things around. Okay. So this is a little bit of a basket. I see that I would have to make some improvements because there's some holes here, but the challenge would be to hold as many eggs in the basket as you can, and then take it outside and get a little exercise and hop a certain amount of space, have a little race, and see how many people still have their eggs in the basket at the end. So this involves all kinds of different things. You could measure out, you could use your math skills, which is part of STEM, by measuring out the distance that you want to go. You could get outside, which is always a great thing to do in spring, and challenge yourself to build an engineering marvel with just a simple tool, as well as seeing how many of these eggs you can hold in the basket and go a distance and see how many are still in there. And it's pretty fun, and and then you can make improvements on that and try it again. So those are just a couple engineering things that I have. Now we're going to do some experiments. Okay, so the first egg experiment. Eggs are very interesting. I mean, they're good for us to eat, but there's a lot of different science involved in some of these in these experiments that I'm going to show you. So the first experiment that I'm going to show you is I am going to take an egg. This is a raw egg, and I'm simply going to add some vinegar to this egg. Now, if I look at this egg, scientists, when they go through they ask the question, what will happen? So my question is, what will happen to this egg if I soak it in vinegar for a couple of days? Okay. So if I make an observation, it's pretty cool because you can the egg looks larger, so you could really see it. I observe that there's some little bubbles that are forming on on this egg, just a little bit right now. I'm sure you cannot see them with your eyes, but if you do this experiment with me, or if you do it after this recording, you are going to make some observations. And the more you look, the more little bubbles will be around the egg, okay? So now I'm going to show you, so you're gonna leave it in this vinegar for about 2 or 3 days, and you are going to notice some amazing things happening, okay? I'm gonna show you what it looks like. I took one and I put it in vinegar a couple days ago, and now, so this was the one I just did, and now this is what it looks like now. So if you look at it just from the camera, you can see that there's still lots of bubbles around the egg, but it looks like it is, you can see through it. You can almost see the yellow. It looks clear, and it looks a lot bigger too. So I'm going to take this and do an amazing thing. I'm going to take it out. I could actually hold this egg in my hand, and I'm going to wipe it off a little bit. And then when I observe it, I can feel that it feels completely different. Look at this. It is much bigger. It is the shell. There's no shell on it, yet it feels like rubbery. Okay, it is amazing. So what is the science behind this? What happened? And I can kind of even see the yolk inside of it. And the longer you let this set out, I've heard that if you take this outside after maybe 4 days, maybe let it set out on a plate so it kind of dry out, you can actually bounce this egg. Do not do that inside. Take it outside and bounce it. But what happened is the egg has calcium, the shell, just like what we have on our teeth. And the vinegar is acid. It's an acid, it has a lot of acid in it. And so the vinegar eats away at the shell. And then what happens is the vinegar kind of gets absorbed by the shell, and it creates this kind of rubbery egg. And that's pretty cool, isn't it? So that's our first experiment. Super easy. All you need is a raw egg and vinegar for that experiment. Okay, let's see. The other experiment that I have that's an egg experiment is, how can you tell the difference between a raw egg and a hard-boiled egg? So I'm going to let you see. So I have a raw egg here, okay? And I am just going to put my okay, and I'm going to spin it, and I want you to observe what happens when I spin it. Does it spin fast or slow? So if I look at that, that's a raw egg, and it spins. I would call that slow, okay? Because when I take the hard-boiled egg, you are going to see a big difference in the way it spins. So this is hard-boiled egg, and I'm going to spin this. Okay, I'm going to take my raw egg out. This is the hard-boiled egg. Can you see how much quicker it spins? Now, that's pretty cool, right? Let me try to do both of them. So you can see that there's a big difference between the raw egg and the hard-boiled egg, right? Now, what is the science behind that? Let's talk about that for a minute. So the science is that a boiled egg will spin faster because when you boil the egg, what happens, if you ever seen a hard-boiled egg, it becomes one, right? When you crack an egg and it's raw, you see that you have a yolk and you have the other part of it, right? When you have a hard-boiled egg, it's all one thing, right? You can kind of take the yolk out, but it's harder. So when you boil it, it spins because it's all one thing. When it's raw, the yolk and the other part of it is separate from the shell, and that kind of has to catch up with each other. So that's what the difference is there. So that's another very easy egg experiment. I have one more experiment for you, and that is, I can make an egg float, okay? So let me try this. So the first thing, I have 2 glasses of water, okay? Let me put this over here. All right, I'm gonna put this on here. You might be able to see it better. 2 glasses of water, okay? And I'm going to put Right now, they're just plain old glasses of water. I am going to put 1 egg in 1 glass of water, okay? Now, what do you think it's going to, what's your prediction? What's your hypothesis? So scientists, when they go through, when they're doing the experiment, they ask the question, what will happen when I put this egg in regular water? Then I'm going to add an ingredient and see what happens. Do you think this egg, what's your hypothesis? Do you think it's going to sink or do you think it's going to float? This is a raw egg, okay? So talk amongst yourselves. Decide if it's going to sink or float, okay? And I'm going to conduct the experiment and I am going to just simply put it into this water right here. All right, so this is a raw egg. I put it into the glass of water and it sinks. So now I'm going to add an ingredient to the other glass of water. I am going to add some salt. I'm going to add about 3. You could use table salt. I have this kosher salt just because it was handy and I don't use it that often, so I thought I would use this. All right. Maybe 3 tablespoons in this glass. Like if you have a bigger container, you're gonna have to add more salt, okay? And what do you observe? You observe that it becomes cloudy, doesn't it, right? And you have to stir it up. And it's not gonna mix up all the way, but I'm gonna stir it up. And you see it's cloudy, so it's going to be a little bit harder to see. But now I'm going to stick another raw egg in the water and observe what happens, okay? Can you see it? Okay, it's hard to see. And see if I can get this more stirred up so that you can see it better. And add a little bit more salt because it seemed like I did try this experiment and I did have success. And even if you couldn't see it, you could see what was happening. All right, mix it around some more. So you need to add a lot of salt to the water, not just a little bit. That was about 5 tablespoons. There we go. And you can see, even though the water's cloudy, you can see the top of the egg floating on top of the water. Pretty cool, huh? So the reason for that is that salt, when you add it to the water, makes the water, the salt water is more dense than the egg, which causes it to rise to the top. And the egg, when it's without the salt, is more dense, so that's why it floats to the bottom. So that is a very cool experiment, isn't it? So that's my egg experiments. Another thing you can try, which we're not going to, you definitely have to ask your parents for permission for this, but eggs are very strong. And if you have a dozen eggs that your mom doesn't need or she buys an extra one, kids, if they should be able to stand on top of the whole, if you open up the egg carton and put it on the floor, and the kids should be able to stand on it and the egg should support their weight. Also, if you hold an egg this way, you can't crush it. This way is a different story because this, when you crack an egg, this is the weakest part of it. But when you do it this way, hard as you go, it's hard to crack an egg. You can't do it. It's so strong. So that's just another fun little extra bonus that I threw in. So we just have one more set of activities to do. Around this time of year, I bet you have some jelly beans laying around the house. And so we are going to, I'm going to tell you just some simple things that you can do with jelly beans. This a lot has to do with, there's some math, there's some engineering, and there's a little science experiment that goes along with it too. So the first experiment is what I did was I took some jelly beans and I made a circle around the bottom of a small bowl. And I'm simply just going to add water to this. And then I'm going to watch what happens. It's going to make a little rainbow because of the sugar dissolving in the water, the color of the jelly beans. Now it takes a minute, but you'll see some very cool things happening in a minute. And you see, it's hard to, So this one takes a minute. So while this one is working, I'm going to tell you some other things that you can do with jelly beans. So I'm just going to put this to the side right here. And I got out some toothpicks, and you can build with, a fun thing to do is build with these jelly beans. So all you have to do is take a bunch of toothpicks and some jelly beans. I would suggest using larger ones than this. These are a little bit hard, but these are the Starburst jelly beans, and they're a little small. The bigger ones will be easier to get through the toothpicks. These are a little bit tricky to get through the toothpicks, and make sure you don't hurt yourself when you do it. But you can actually build some structures just by putting together these jelly beans. Oops. And triangles in engineering are very strong. They make things strong. So you can just build this into a 3D, just keep on building from here. And see what you can come up with, right? So now my science experiment seems to be doing what it needs to do. I'm gonna put one more jelly bean in the structure. And this can be added and you can make this as big as you want. It's a great activity for using your imagination and your engineering skills. You might want to make a trap out of this, for instance. So see this, so you could just keep on adding to this shape. Okay, so if you observe, you see that all the colors, they look like a little rainbow. All the colors are blending into the middle, and if you look, the colors are kind of staying separate. Okay, there you go. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so I have one more thing that we can do with jelly beans, and I'm going to take these off right here. Wipe this off so that it doesn't get all wet. So another fun thing to do with jelly beans, instead of just eating, of course, it's always fun to eat jelly beans, but is to do some math activities with jelly beans. Now, you think, oh, what can you do with jelly beans with math? Well, I'm going to just put a couple of jelly beans on this plate so that I can show you. So especially for younger children, it's good to do some sorting activities, right? So the obvious thing to do would be to sort some of these colors, right, by color. Or if you have different kinds of jelly beans, you can do it by size and color, right? And then from there, you can make a graph. Okay, I'm gonna just take a little bit. Okay, so there's the sorting, right? You could you can do some addition problems. You can do some subtraction problems by eating a couple. I have so many jelly beans. I ate 2. How many do I have left now? Just makes it a little bit more fun. So if I wanted to make a graph, I could simply take my jelly beans that I sorted out and graph them just like this, right? Just for the sake of time, I'm going to I'm not going to use all of them, but you could do as many as you want, right? So this graph could tell me many different things, right? I could say, what jelly beans are the most, how many are the least, and add them all together. Like I said, you could do multiplication with this by making a couple of arrays, right? So there's many things you can do with jelly beans, and it just makes it a little bit more fun than doing like regular math sheets. So it's just a fun way to kind of go through some basic math. So that is my last activity. I hope you enjoyed this program. I hope you do some of the experiments that were shown. They're pretty amazing, pretty easy. And some of the engineering things will be really fun to do too. So with that, get outside, explore nature, and have a great day. Bye now.